Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Glorious Life on Wheels. Today I'm at Moonlight Beach. Isn't it gorgeous? Oh my goodness, one of my favorite places. And I'm recording the intro to the second of two videos that I did on grandparents raising grandchildren. In this video, we're going to talk a little bit about something different, and that is grandparents who are raising grandchildren, but they're actually also foster parents to those same grandchildren. So it's a little bit of a different spin. If you didn't see the first video, go back, because there's a delightful grandchild. He's a 13-year-old teenager who gives his perspective on what it's like being raised by a grandparent. But there are certainly challenges when you are at a certain point in life and you think you have your life all figured out, and then all of a sudden you're responsible for raising another family again of children at an older age, when you may be just about to go on to Social Security or are living on Social Security income. So the financial challenges are just astronomical. But before we go into the video, I want to address something, a comment that was made on the first video. Now, I'm paraphrasing it because I don't have the exact comment in front of me. But this person said, basically, well, they did such a terrible job on raising their first set of kids, so now they're raising their grandkids. Oh yeah, makes a lot of sense. Well, let me just say this. Apparently, that person has never seen a family who has multiple siblings in the family. 3 or 4 of the children turn out to be productive citizens. They go on to lead successful lives. They raise great families. And then one child, or maybe even 2, for whatever reason, makes poor decisions, picks a bad peer group, and maybe gets on drugs. Who knows? But they make some terrible decisions, and it leaves their life in shambles. And as a result, the grandparents are left to either take the grandchildren in and raise them, or to leave them to go into the system. So because grandparents are raising grandchildren doesn't mean they did a terrible job with their own children. I just want to say that. All right, I'm done with my rant for the day. But anyhow, come on and let's meet Antoinette and hear about her story of raising grandchildren, 2 in fact, and how that has impacted her. So come on, let's go meet her. Hello, Antoinette.
Hi.
I'm here at the Grandparents Raising Grandkids event and other relative caregivers, and you were one of the individuals that was gracious enough to be willing to speak with me.
Yeah.
So you're raising how many grandchildren?
2.
2. And how long have you been doing that?
Since 2019 officially.
But unofficially?
Unofficially, probably 2 years before that.
Wow. And so I'm not going to ask you down to the nitty-gritty details, but as far as, did you just get a call one night, or how did you happen to take over guardianship?
Well, my daughter, it's my daughter's kids.
Mm-hmm.
So it had been going on probably for 2 years, and where she would drop them off sometimes, pick them up sometimes, kind of in and out of the house.
Mm-hmm. Antoinette, how old are you?
I am 53.
Now, is this what you envisioned your life at 53?
Not with my grandkids. I always thought one day when I was older and the kids are out of the house, and didn't even imagine grandkids, I might want to foster kids, but I never thought I'd be fostering my own grandkids.
And you never thought that it would be a permanent thing, I don't imagine.
Right. So I've always been involved in their lives, even throughout. So
right.
It was an easy transition,
okay.
I would say, but it is still kind of hard. I was listening to your one of your other grandmas who was saying about resources. Even though my grandkids went through the foster care, some resources I'm not allowed.
But you still have the same. You can't go in and say, hey, I'm a grandma raising my grandkids. Hey, give me groceries for free. Give me this for free. Give me clothes. So you still have the other obligations and financial responsibilities.
Right.
So do you miss being able to have the traditional role of grandmother, and that, you know, you get to be the fun weekend type of person, or were you already doing a lot of the day-to-day so you don't really miss that?
I don't think I ever became the grandma where they visit and left.
So you were always kind of a caregiver on the side.
Right. Because my daughter was young when she had them, so I was always part of taking care of them.
I see.
I did imagine that once she became older and of age, she would take care of them. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out that way.
So you were hoping that one day you would be able to be a traditional grandparent and
yes.
just enjoy them, and then have the parent take full responsibility.
Right, and so far that hasn't happened.
And that's the case with so many grandparents who are raising grandchildren that I speak to. Now, if you had to talk to grandparents, whether younger grandparents or older grandparents, about self-care, how important is that? And what would you suggest they do? Because, you know, to keep going.
Well, I'm very fortunate to have a group of friends within the foster care group.
Okay.
So I have friends who, even though I'm younger, they still kind of understand what I'm going through as far as the situation or whatever may have brought my kids to me, or if I'm stressed out about the kids. So I'm able to tap into respite with them.
Okay.
But I think it's really important to take the time for yourself, and as well as, you know, it is better for the kids to see you help.
Right.
So I tend to be a fun grandma anyway, so I take my kids lots of places. But every once in a while, I do need to go behind the door and like just close it for a minute.
Right.
Just kind of, you know.
As someone who's 70, who is raising a younger child for the last almost 20 years, you know, as you're older, you really do get more tired easily.
Yeah.
Or at least I did, you know.
Well, especially like sometimes when you're like up, and I did imagine my youngest is 21, so when she turned 18, I was like, wow, yay, you know.
Right.
I'm done. I don't have to worry about cooking dinner. I don't have to worry about, you know, making sure stuff is in the house. She's 21. She's 18.
She can fend for herself in that way. Yeah,
she can fend for herself. But now it's like I got to worry about, okay, what I got to feed the kids for dinner. Did they do their homework?
Right.
Do we have a sport to go to? You know.
So sometimes does it seem like there's no end in sight, or how does it seem to you?
Sometimes it does seem like that. I do realize my grandson now is 14. My granddaughter is 9. Mm-hmm. So I'm kind of looking at the tunnel.
Right.
But sometimes it's like, will I be taking care of kids forever?
Yeah.
But then again, like I said, I always dreamt that one day I would do foster care.
But on your terms.
Yes, on my terms.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
It wasn't on my terms the way I was. And listening to one of the other grandmas, where back in the day, that's what they did. They took your kids and they gave it to a relative. So when the lady told me, like, she was going to interview me and it was going to take 2 hours, I'm like, for what? Aren't you going to just give me the grandkids? No, there's a whole process you got to go through now. And then they make you a foster parent.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so now I'm a foster parent.
Of your grandkids.
Of my grandkids. Where's the line? Like, are they foster kids or my grandkids? You know,
yeah.
You know, I got to be a certain, because I think even as parents, we have a certain way we treat our own kids.
Right.
You know,
we don't have lots of rules. You're not under a microscope.
Right. And I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, he fell and now I got to report this.
Yeah.
This is my kid.
Right.
But where they're my grandkids, they're foster kids. So if he does fall and scrape his knee, I got to call CWS and file an incident report.
So Big Brother's kind of watching in a way.
Yeah. And so
that's a new, I would imagine that would be a little difficult.
Yeah. And then I have someone come into my house once a month to make sure they're okay. They're my grandkids. I'm taking care of them just fine. And you don't have that same over the shoulder, looking over your shoulder kind of thing. So
there are actually pros and cons of
yes.
both arrangements, from what I'm hearing you say.
The pro would be you do get financial assistance, you do tap into some resources.
Okay.
So that's most definitely a pro. Even though, like I said, I'm a younger grandmother, I don't get the full camp paid for, but at least I
Right.
get half.
Right.
So that saves me money. The con would be that whole big brother thing. It's just, but if they fall, I gotta, take them to the doctor. I gotta make sure that I do this. I gotta document that I took them to the doctor.
But what I hear you saying is, as a grandparent who is also a foster parent, things that are typical everyday occurrences in raising children now become documentable events
Yes.
that someone is going to scrutinize very carefully, where if a kid just fell and scraped their knees under normal circumstances, it's just a kid falling down outside skating and falling and scraping their knees.
Exactly.
But it could potentially become a big deal if you're a foster parent.
Exactly.
Okay,
And-
so that is something to consider. We didn't talk about that in the other interview that I did, but thank you for bringing that up, because that's something to think about.
Yeah. So and you do, and for instance, Super Bowl Sunday is tomorrow. If I want to have a beer, I got to be careful because these kids were exposed to that kind of situation.
Wow.
And it's not, and it just makes it so many red tape stuff.
Right.
That sometimes it's just like, why did I do this? But then you look at they're progressing, they're being happy,
Right.
And they're where they are versus not knowing.
And the difference it's going to make in their lives in the future.
Right. And if they see something healthy, they see
Right.
doing right, then that's something they can mirror.
And emulate, right. Well, Antoinette, thank you so very much, and thank you for what you're doing for your grandchildren, raising productive citizens. And in closing, is there anything you wanted to say to anyone looking to do this or considering it that we haven't addressed?
No, it's just each person is their own. I mean, you know what you can handle. If that's the route you want to take, and don't feel bad if you can't handle it. I mean,
That's a
some
good
people
point.
can't.
If it's not something you can do, you shouldn't be plagued by guilt.
No, it's just you've raised your kids, and if it's not in you to raise your grandkids, don't feel bad about it. It's not for everybody.
Well, thank you again, and we'll see you down the road.
All right.